Hey guys, it's Greg here with Tales from the Pythian. Welcome back. Today we're going to take some first steps into elevating a Shadowdark community adventure, starting with the map. We're working in Foundry VTT version 13, and the only module that I'm enabling to start with is the official Shadowdark community content module. So I'm creating a fresh world here, assigning the Shadowdark system and jumping straight into modules to activate the community content. This bundle includes adventures, actors, macros, and exactly what we need, and everything you would need to just run this right out of the box without having to do anything else to it. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to jump over and load in the adventure. So we'll go over to the compendiums, find the adventure that we want, and just import it. And that's going to give us our basis inside of Foundry for what we need to be doing. But we're going to bring this black and white map, which is an excellent map already, but we're going to bring it to life. And again, this is per request we had from a user. So in order to do that, we have to take it over, or the way I do it is I take it over into Inkarnate. However, this particular file has just barely exceeds the size limitation of Inkarnate. So what I'm using here is Pixlr, which is a free online video editing software, and I'm just going to adjust the aspect ratio just slightly so that it comes into Inkarnate without any problems, and then we'll be able to take it back over into Foundry resized later, and everything will work out just fine. So here we are. We're going to create the map. We're just going to take the Fantasy Battle Maps option. We're going to do a custom size, and we're going to make it match the grid count of the Slime Lord map, which has 50 by 30. We'll get it loaded in here, or we'll get loaded in here. And then the first thing that we have to do is we actually have to go into the catalog of stamps and go to our personal stamps and upload this as a custom stamp. So we're just going to find the image that we just adjusted. So we'll bring this in and we'll just keep it named Trials Slime Lord. We save the stamp. And it's actually going to go ahead and just attach it right onto our cursor right out of the gate. Now we're just going to place it, and then we're just going to scale it up. I believe it's going to be, I think it's 400. Yeah, bam. 400 gets us right where we need to be, and then we're just going to get it all aligned to the corners. A good way to do that is to zoom in as you see me doing right here. And then occasionally I'll turn the grid on as well, and maybe throw some opacity to it to just to make sure we're perfect, which you'll see me do here in just a moment once we get the little fine nudging done. There we go. Now we'll show the grid and just kind of zoom out and make sure everything jives. No double lines. Looks good. Beautiful. That looks absolutely epic. So what we want to do now is we want to slide over here. We want to put this on a 0 layer. So it's at the bottom, and then we want to lock it so that we don't accidentally move it later on. Now you will see that we can go over to the side and we have the control of the opacity. So we can put some opacity to this map so that we can kind of trace it with what we've got going on underneath. Yeah, there we go. And then from this point forward, really, it's just about finding the stamps that you want and the brushes that you want to give the effect that you want to see. So we'll speed this build up a little bit so we don't get bored watching me choose a bajillion stamps. So there's no real rocket science to this. Inkarnate's an excellent tool. They have a lot of options for these. They call them stamps, which are really great. You can really manipulate these both in size, the color. They have all the tools built into the panel there on the left that will allow you to do those things. Opacity, layering, anything you really wanted to do with a map, you can really do it in here. It's pretty good. It is my understanding that Dungeon Draft has the similar capabilities or the same capabilities. I can't speak to it. I've never used it, not for any other reason other than I just have never used it. So I'm sure that somebody could probably chime in the comments about the workflow down there Dungeon Draft or whatever. But anyway, so what I usually do, as you can see, is I just grab a stamp set that I think works for what I'm trying to do. In this case, rough cavern walls, and I'll go around and I'll get them all placed, or what I think is all of them placed before I, kind of switch to the next stamp set, which in this case is going to be like block walls. I do try to keep things neat. You probably saw in a flash there on the right side, I grabbed all of those rough cave walls and threw them into a group. And that just makes it easier for, one, keeping up with what you're doing, and two, if you have to edit something later, you can very quickly and easily locate what you're trying to edit, add to, or take away from without having to scroll through 5 billion stamps there on the side. So this is probably a really good case of changing my mind here that we're seeing. That's why it looks kind of crazy. So going through, plopping the doors in where I think the doors go, finishing out the walls. I believe I go through at some point here, and I will kind of change the layout of the edge of the wall as it relates to the corridor. I think I remember seeing that I was impeding to, yeah, here we go. I was impeding too much in the corridor, I felt like. So I wanted to kind of change that a little bit back from the grid so that in the actual Foundry environment, those squares, the grid squares, were open and it wouldn't be an issue, with walling or whatever. Not that I plan to wall any of this in Foundry. We're going to use the exact same walls that were in the adventure to begin with. When we're all said and done, it should literally be like a slip sheet, like a remove the image of the black and white map and change it to this image, and everything else should just remain in place and be pretty straightforward. So we'll just finish up in here, kind of going around and placing all of our walls and getting our outlines good. These curve spaces are always a little challenging because it never really quite matches up perfectly, but don't worry about it. It's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. Your players are likely not going to even notice, and you're going to be the person who's most critical of yourself when you're doing anything like this. And that's, it's okay. It's okay to be critical and to want it to be a little better next time, but I definitely wouldn't get too hung up on it or worry too much about it. I would just say try to get it done and, move on with the other things that are important, like preparing for the adventure. So the stairs, this was interesting. So I went back and forth, as you can see, trying to decide how I wanted the stairs to look. I adjusted the color, some more doors. And then we had kind of some elevation change indicators, but they weren't quite stairs. And I think I finally settled on just some type of a stone object that I could scale that was in a kind of linear, that I could make longer or shorter to reflect those elevation changes. And then once that was done, and here I catch a couple more that I missed, just to resize. I mean, you can see what that blue box means is I went into a group and added to that group so that I could stay organized. And then we're going through and we're going to just use the brush to paint. And so we just kind of reference what the module needs, our preferred aesthetic, pick up things that we lost like that, and just kind of finish it out. I bounce back and forth between the opacity a couple of times to make sure everything's looking good. And then everything else I'm doing now is just kind of finishing it out just to kind of make it look like a completed map. Because when we take it into Foundry, we're not going to see any of that underlayer that we're seeing now with the opacity. So this is just about the aesthetic when we get in there. So we fill it all out. We'll put some grass over here. And then just to add some flair, we use a brush that shows like a cracked surface, and we'll go to some different areas of the map and paint that on so it looks like the floors are ruined and weathered. And then we actually use some other colors and the brush to paint that kind of green glowing on the floor to indicate, I believe it's acid or something that's going on in the adventure right there. Forgive me, I can't remember right off the top of my head, but we'll cover it once we get there. So once we're here, we've just exported it, right? So we export it and we go back into Foundry, and we're going to bring it in here and see what we've got. So all we have left to do now is import the completed map that we updated. I don't like calling it updated, upgraded. I don't like calling it that either. We colorized it, basically. We made it more aesthetically pleasing to the eye for those that want to see that not black and white kind of map going on in their game, if that's your style, right? So that being said, all we'll do here is we'll just browse to the file and swap it out for the black and white file. When we exported out of Inkarnate, we did the same file size, so everything should come in normal. All of our tokens are in the same location. All of our map notes, our walls, our doors, that's all done. It does not have to be redone. So anyway, this has been part 2, I guess, of this process. Part 3 will be basically prepping the dungeon for anything quasi-automated that we want to do. We're blinging it out, putting in statues, traps, etc., all that sort of stuff. So we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.